Welcome everybody. Welcome to this month's Angels at Essex Female Founders and Investors meeting.
Hello everybody, I'm Lauren. Some of you have probably met me before, but I think there's also some new faces, which is always good to see. I work at the University of Essex as one of the enterprise officers in the startups team. So I work primarily with students and graduates that are looking to start a business, looking for business support, funding, all sorts of opportunities that we offer at the university in terms of workshops and sort of specialist subjects and things like that as well. My background, just a little bit about me, I was kind of very passionate about this and enthusiastic, as I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset myself, and I've been in anything from sort of beauty background, healthcare, and now most recently work also as a children's entertainer alongside my role at the university. So quite a bit of variety there from myself. So that's a little bit about me. I'll just pass you over to Magda as well. So
hi everybody, my name is Magdalena or Magda. So I'm a co-founder of The Weave with James Cracknell. A lot of people know him from Colby and from the university. I work with Lorraine at the university. I'm also in the Essex startups team, the entrepreneur in residence. I work part-time and mentoring students. I've been doing that for the past 4.5 years now. I absolutely love it. And The Weave itself is also an enterprise educational business. So we run a lot of workshops and accelerators for Colby and also for the university, and doing lots of different things. My background personally is in marketing. I would say my prior life before becoming an entrepreneur was all in marketing for years and years, until I finally hung up my corporate jacket. I don't know what the saying is. There is a saying in English. Anyways, I'm originally from Germany, so English is my second language. Came to the UK 10.5 years ago. And yeah, I've like I said, I was in marketing, and then I started my own business in photography, funnily enough, a very different field, about 8 years ago or so. And after 100 or so weddings, I eased myself out of that field and then became a co-founder in The Weave, and obviously working with the university. So in a nutshell, that's me. Excellent. All right. So today we have like I said, quite a good agenda, but we're going to mix it up today because we've not had the chance to actually meet and greet everyone, or you didn't have the chance to actually meet and greet everyone as much in the last few sessions that we've held so far. So we wanted to actually start out with a breakout session and let you guys mingle, network, introduce yourselves. We're going to pose a question to you that you can discuss in the group. We're going to do that for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to go into our lightning talks today, where we have the lovely Lorraine Smith from Innovate UK Edge and the lovely Emma Blaylock from Rocker Limited. And then we're going to just close and talk a little bit about upcoming events at the very end. Lovely. Excellent. We hope, how was that? If anybody would like to share, how did you like it better? Did you get some good discussion going? How were your breakout rooms?
Rosa here. Hi. Chimera Energy. Hi. It was interesting just to get different ideas, really, things that I hadn't quite thought about. I think someone said about drafting your own press release. I thought, well, actually, I normally don't think about those things, but actually, we've just been nominated for an award or not nominated, but potential to be nominated for an award. So to think that, oh, hang on, we could put that, even if we haven't actually been nominated, it can go out as a press release, or things like that. Just gets the wheels of your imagination turning, makes you think in a sort of slightly different way that's how you would normally be thinking. So yeah, that was quite useful. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I will say one of the most challenging things that I faced in my business is actually breaking into different markets. Just because I am who I am, I'm one of one with the type of business that I run. And so it's just been a little difficult. I did mention in the breakout room that I draft my own press releases for any happenings in my business, just because, it's a content search all the time for blogs. And at some point, someone will say, oh, yeah, this is good. I'll post this. And then from there, everybody else reposts what they post, that type of thing. So That's all I have. I'm Tiffany from New Jersey, everyone. My business is Shafani.
My name is Beulah, and it's pronounced Beulah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say that we obviously just got round to really introducing one another and learning about each other's businesses. So we didn't get quite round to discussing a lot of this, but I'm talking from my experience and how I market my e-learning space. And I think being data-driven has been really good for me. I opened my business in 2019. And I think I was also explaining that, you know, I am an angel investor, and that's kind of the capacity that both founder and angel investing in different healthcare businesses. But I use a lot of LinkedIn marketing, you know, paid ads for both platforms. Facebook, actually, it's funny that I have more business from Facebook marketing that captures both consumer to consumer and business to business as well. I for whatever reason I haven't been as lucky. I think I do get business from LinkedIn, but Facebook is my number one, and I think for the last 2 years I have budgeted marketing, you know, a hefty budget around Facebook ads, Google ads, and that's how I market. And I think just understanding the numbers is brilliant, because I'm one of those people as well who just really want to understand the data. My business is quite niche, so I'm only targeting healthcare businesses and healthcare workers, you know, specifically because that is what we teach, and you know, the subjects are around clinical areas and leadership and management development within that space. So yeah, I think that's my experience. I wouldn't think that I could do the business without investing in marketing. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of starting, and I know that organic growth is good. You know, it was quite good for me in terms of my customer, my B2C customers, but not to the traction that I really wanted. You know, I needed to put in that marketing, budget in, and not just any marketing. I needed to invest quite a bit in my marketing. I don't know whether that's helpful, and that was kind of
I think that's great. Thank you for sharing. I think in general, data driven and, you know, knowing your numbers and analyze your marketing efforts is like the best thing that you can do, and having marketing efforts in the first place, obviously, as well. So thank you for sharing.
In terms of how we engage with our community, we try to really engage them in the development process. So we share with them our product roadmap, and we are constantly engaging with them through stories, especially our B2C, to try to improve their engagement with us, especially because it's a matter of trust and creating that connection with both our B2B and us as the mediator. And instead for B2B, the best has been word of mouth. Everybody knows at least one person in the restaurant sector or the food business sector, and usually they're all trying to find a way to build a new technology. So that has been also very helpful. And one of the suggestions that we received was very helpful was use the right platform to target the right audience. And so on LinkedIn, we have all our B2B communication, and on Instagram, we have all our B2C, and we never cross-reference unless there is a food business that we want to promote, or something that is an event that connects the two sites.
We're going to move on to our first speaker, which is Lorraine Smith. So welcome, Lorraine. Just a quick little introduction, then I'll let Lorraine take over so you can all hear her wonderful talk today. So Lorraine is from the Innovation and Growth Specialist at Innovate UK Edge. So she is a coach and mentor for some of our region's SMEs, helping them to commercialise new innovations, and also specialist for the Innovate UK Women in Innovation Awards for this year, 2022-23. And her background, which I'm sure maybe she'll tell you a little bit more about as well, is in systems design for financial services and foreign exchange.
Super. It was so nice to meet you all in the breakout rooms, and we were saying it's really nice to be in this environment with other female founders. As you'd mentioned, Lauren, thank you for the intro. I began years ago in sort of financial services, foreign exchange, systems design, platform design, although it was in the 1990s, so we didn't call them platforms then. But thankfully, I'm really pleased to say that the environment and the landscape for women in tech and innovation has changed dramatically since then. And so, yes, being part of these kind of networking groups are fantastic. I'd actually set up my own business in tourism and gaming back in about 2015, 2016. And I had a very clear vision for the product from that kind of systems design background. But, you know, as you'll know, it's quite a lonely space, being an entrepreneur, being a startup founder, and finding that those kind of supporters and collaborators was really, really the most important step of my journey of becoming a startup founder. I did become a client of Innovate UK Edge, which is kind of links into where I am today, but I'll get onto that in a moment. I joined up with an accelerator program, and as I mentioned, you know, the focus really was to build my team and to find those supporters and those collaborators. So it wasn't necessarily that I was in the minority as a female within those accelerator programs. It was just I really needed to find the supporters that were right for me, and people that I could collaborate with who understood my journey and what I was trying to do, and were kind of equally passionate about it as well. So I'd made use of an Innovation Bridge grant, and I became part of an accelerator program, and I raised some funding, and then became a client through Innovate UK Edge. And we built an advisory board, and that was just a real game changer for me. So, you know, accessing these sorts of networks, finding like-minded people within these groups and these communities was just an absolute game changer. And, you know, those kind of networks build, and that really, really helped the business. You know, I took every chance that I could to pitch at all events and networks. I ran workshops, case studies. I did MBA workshops. I spoke at places like Albright Academy and Digital Catapult, which leads really to just broadening that network and broadening that advisory base for my business, which helped fill in some of those knowledge gaps, I suppose, that I had. And then that led me to being able to have, and being ready as well, to have those talks with investor groups within the gaming industry, with Lego Ventures. And it was all going swimmingly well until COVID hit. having a gaming and tourism business, I have to say, you know, I'd been really careful with my kind of risk register and risk analysis, but at no point in there was a global pandemic on my little list of items. However, you know, the business is still there, and I was approached by Innovate UK because I've been through this kind of a startup journey. I understand the roller coaster nature of being a founder and launching a product and getting it to that commercial point. I'm now working with a number of businesses across the east of England to help them commercialize, and I'm working with, you know, really great, inspiring female-led businesses who have won, you know, Women in Innovation Awards, creative industry funds. We've got, you know, I work with women across a real range of different sectors at different stages, and it's not perhaps the fact that they're females. It's more about their strength and the determination within this space, I think, which is really a success point for them. But what I do in supporting them is, as we do with all business, you know, it doesn't matter if they're male or female founders, is working on those building blocks to help them grow. But I suppose what I'm getting back to is being part of a collaborative, supportive network of a variety of different founders is hugely helpful. Yeah, I know when I was going through the startup journey, I'd take every opportunity that I could. But I'm here also to talk about Innovate UK Edge and what we do, how we support businesses. Let me just click through to the next slide. There's a number of ways which we help. We're mentioning here exploiting business innovation. So we support businesses develop their innovation processes, and their existing products, professional services to get to market sort of successfully. We look at implementing strong innovation cultures within organizations. We look at adapting business models to incorporate R&D functions to make sure that innovation is exploited. We help businesses set project success criteria. We establish manufacturing readiness. We'll help identify different types of IP and protection, and where there's professional help available or pots of funding available to help with that IP protection. We will look at sources of funding and financing. So we'll advise on the best options, sort of locally, nationally, internationally. We'll review Innovate UK applications as a critical friend. You know, whilst we're not there to write the applications, we see a huge amount of them. So we're always happy to help out with those applications and for grants. And we also do a lot of work on investment readiness, looking at investment pitch. And we're also part of the Pitch Fest program too. And we also work with businesses to enter new markets, so increasing knowledge of new markets, but also your presence in overseas markets too. But I'll get onto that in a moment. The next slide is possibly my favourite, because this is us just blowing our own trumpet, really. These are some of the impacts we've had over the last couple of years. So this is just within the East of England. So across 162 of our businesses that we've worked with, we've helped raise 112 million. In 25 of the businesses, we've achieved cost savings of over £1 million. And for almost 350 businesses, we've created 3,900 new jobs and safeguarding jobs too. And that's just what we've done in the last 2 years. I'll get on to a little bit about how we work as a team and within the East of England. But it's quite important to mention that the support that we offer is completely tailored. So we'll speak to businesses and find out what their challenges right now are and how they're looking to grow. So that can be a number of different things. It can be investment readiness support, whether that's, as I mentioned, kind of grant funding or private funding. We'll look at internationalization, sales and marketing, growth and strategy, and building partnerships through the kind of wider Innovate UK network too. On entering new markets, we've got a number of different programs and a number of different initiatives. We've got the Global Incubator Program, which is an accelerator program. We've got something called the Global Business Innovation Program, where we prepare businesses for trips overseas, and that's usually based around a trade show or conference or an event, which is sector-based. So we'll take you out to those events. It is an application-based program, and then we'll work with you on the return to make the most of those opportunities that come up through those visits too. So, for example, we've got an ocean technology program coming up to Canada. We've got women in agri-tech coming up in the Netherlands. We've got immersive tech programs to South Korea and South by Southwest in Austin. And previously, we've even had a space tech program to Silicon Valley. We've also had these sort of focused brokerage events as well to help you find new international business opportunities. This next slide sort of explains how we fit into the ecosystem. So right at the top here in the top left-hand corner, we've got BEIS, the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, and they fund UKRI at about 8 billion a year. UKRI have 7 research councils and Research England, but also are responsible for Innovate UK. And then Innovate UK then have 2 separate arms. They have this funding arm, and they'll have a number of competitions, as I'm sure you're aware throughout the year, from sort of feasibility stage to smart grants, which includes some commercialization aspects. But we also have this supporting arm as well, which is where we fit in. So we're here to coach, mentor businesses, but also tap into the other resources within the wider Innovate UK network, such as KTNs, labs, universities, and so on. So as I mentioned, it's completely tailored. So there is a qualification process, I suppose, to accessing the support. But once you're on board, you're assigned an innovation growth specialist, such as myself. We will work with you on your current challenges, whether that's go-to-market strategy, whether it's IP, internationalization, investment readiness, a number of different areas, and we'll work with you and support you on those areas. As I've mentioned, we are funded through BAYS, which is government funded, and we work very, very tightly to these impacts. So we will work with you to reach the impacts that we're looking for throughout the support. It stretches. We don't kind of get to an end point with the support. We will continue working with you, and there's also options for high growth support as well. We have scale up directors who go into companies that are accelerating very, very quickly. This is a little bit about us as a team and what we do. So within the East of England, we've got over nearly 30 now innovation growth specialists. I've mentioned before my kind of background in startups and business prior to this, and the majority of our specialists have worked in corporate commercial backgrounds, and many of us still have or have had our own businesses. So we've gone through the startup journey. So as well as being able to tap into the wider Innovate UK network, we've got our sort of business strategy knowledge and expertise to share with you. But we also bring a lot of empathy to the role as well. We understand that there are good days and bad days, and we're really there to support you. There's just a little bit here about a couple of the businesses that we've worked with. Ablatus is a spin out from Norfolk and Norwich University Hospitals. They pioneered a new procedure for it's destroying tumours without invasive surgery. And we supported them by helping them with their investment pitch. They went on to raise 500,000 in match funding, and they also secured an Innovate UK Smart Grant of 1.42 million. Techspert.io are a spin out from Cambridge, and they use AI to search the web for experts in particular fields. They'd raised 3.75 million from investors after support with us, and they've been growing at about 150% annually. They've hired 30 new members of staff since 2020, and they currently employ 50 in the UK, and they've just recently opened a new office in Houston, Texas. And that has all come after working with us on their sort of new organizational structure, operations process, and business strategy review. We've got a lot of videos actually on YouTube. If you search up Innovate UK East of England, you'll see our client testimonials on there. There are some eligibility and qualifying criteria to gain access to our support. And I would say the biggest part of these criteria is the innovation to disrupt a market. So if you've got something that's really going to change the market, is really new, then we're always really, really interested to hear from you. This potential to internationalize is large. The growth potential, of course, as well needs to be there. I'll pop questions up, but before I get to questions, I'm going to put my contact details there. So if you would like to get in touch and find out more about what we do, please email me. I'm also on LinkedIn, so find me on LinkedIn and connect. And I'd love to keep in touch and hear about what you're doing. But if you do have any questions, please fire away, or we can keep them to the end of the session. Lauren, I think we've mentioned perhaps too.
From Rosa, does a business need to be part of an Innovate UK program before they receive help?
Oh, no, and I should have mentioned that. That's a great question. Because Innovate UK has the two arms, it doesn't mean that you have to have the funding to access the support. Quite often we're working with businesses at, you need to be beyond prototype stage, but quite often the businesses that we work with haven't had Innovate UK funding, but are working towards looking for Innovate UK funding or private funding too. So no, not at all.
Sorry, continuing on from that, you say you need to be beyond the prototype stage, did you say?
Beyond prototype stage, yeah.
Is there a criteria on revenue? Like what revenue the startup has to have before they come to you?
Not necessarily. It really depends, as long as you've got that prototype, you're testing the market potentially. We, I think perhaps more than revenue, we're interested in your growth potential and your potential to internationalize. If you've, we can work on things like your organizational strategy and your route to market and so on. But no, there isn't any sort of revenue or income criteria for that.
Lorraine, my question, I've been working with an Innovate UK Expo. I didn't realize I had to be within prototype stage because I was before prototype stage. She's been very good to me. Yeah, so now that we're at the testing and we're piloting with our prototype, so is this the point then where now we can work together to access the funding? Is that how it works?
Well, there's a number of different ways that we look to prepare you for funding applications. If this, the kind of support that you've had so far, perhaps what we would do is look at things like your value proposition. We'd look at an innovation project canvas, which is something that we work with. If you're familiar with business model canvas and lean canvas and those kinds of models and ideas and ways of working, you'd be quite familiar with the innovation project canvas. It isn't going to be too different for you. However, the innovation project canvas is something which mirrors very closely the Innovate UK application forms. So if we're looking at things like wider impacts, but also your client relations, your market channels, those sorts of things. So it's really fleshing out those details and making sure that each of those areas are explored fully. So when you then come to creating and writing your Innovate UK applications, you have the copy there, and we can show that you've gone through the process of the sort of the strategy process in terms of the organization and the technical side of things and the risks, and making sure that you've gone through and kind of tick those boxes that you'd need to do for those applications. And whilst we're a partner of Innovate UK, and there's absolutely no guarantees, it's no kind of fast track to those grants. As I've mentioned, we see a huge amount of the Innovate UK application, so we're really well placed to advise you for getting those applications in. But also not just the applications, but the type of fund that you go for as well. Because I think when you go onto the Innovate UK website, there's an awful lot of competitions on there, and some may be a better choice than others for you, and we can help advise on that.
So now we're moving over to the wonderful Emma Blaylock. So just quickly introduce Emma. So the wonderful Emma, she is a business strategist at Rocker. Yeah, I did say it right. The business strategist at Rocker Limited, primarily focused on the business growth strategy, but also M&A and innovation for technology companies. She has previously, she's held many senior roles at wonderful companies like Sony, Amazon, Deloitte as well. But I'm sure she's going to talk lots more about her journey today. So I'm really, I'm not going to take too much away from all of it. So I will hand over to you, Emma.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. And it was really nice to meet some of you in the breakout room as well earlier. It's really inspiring, I think, to have these conversations with like-minded people, particularly women in the kind of entrepreneurial space. So I really enjoyed that. It's going to focus my 20 minutes today, really, I guess, on my journey. And as Magda mentioned, it's been a mix between large corporates and also entrepreneurial. And I thought, by sharing kind of my experiences, hopefully there's some things in there that some of you might recognize or, may help. But, also very happy to answer any questions as we go through. So I started out, I did a computer science degree at the University of Nottingham. And at that point, this was in 1994, there weren't many women in computer science. I think I was like, there were 1 to every 10 males on the course. It was a very sort of male dominated environment, but really exciting space. And, you know, it's something that I'd had a passion for at school. And so I was really excited to get more experience in that area. And off the back of my computer science degree, I went to join Arthur Andersen, which was a management consulting firm. And I joined as a software engineer and kind of progressed through that to a team lead manager role. I worked in London and I worked in San Francisco through the first .com boom. So worked with a lot of sort of entrepreneurial businesses through the boom of that, and also slightly as that came down again in around 2002. At that point in 2002, Arthur Andersen, there was an accounting scandal with the accounting side, and Arthur Andersen ended up being acquired in the UK by Deloitte. So I very quickly came back because my visa had just gone, been expired, came back to the UK and joined Deloitte as part of that acquisition. And sort of continued working in the technology space, mainly with technology and media clients like the BBC and Universal and things like that. I got to a point where basically, you know, although I love technology, still really passionate about technology, I was getting more and more interested in the business side rather than the kind of the hard technology skills of programming. And so I went and did an MBA at Kellogg, which is in Chicago in the States, to really kind of round out my business experience from a kind of academic standpoint, really, and to learn from the classmates. There were about 600 people on the class, to kind of learn from their experiences, the challenges they'd faced and the opportunities that they faced, and round out my background. From Kellogg, I went to Sony Corp in America, and worked in a corporate development and mergers and acquisitions role. So again, looking at small businesses predominantly in the technology and media spaces, because I covered both electronics and media in terms of music and pictures and games. And we would look at companies that were strategically aligned to Sony's interests. And it could be from a collaboration perspective or from an investment perspective or even an acquisition. As well. I loved that role, loved working with startup businesses, and basically off the back of that, with some ex-Sony colleagues, I worked for an e-reading startup. That's the picture of the kind of newspaper there. It was called Skiff. I went to work for the e-reading startup, which was launching. This is before Kindle was in the UK. So and we were very much focused on kind of magazine and newspaper content, so not your sort of traditional text-heavy content, and looked at launching that. So I was based it was an American company backed by the Hearst Corporation, which is a big magazine company, and I was in the UK kind of forming relationships with publishers in the UK in anticipation of a UK launch. I then had my first child, and while I was on maternity leave, before any launch, the company got acquired by News Corp, and that technology kind of, they got acquired for the technology, and that technology kind of was folded into News Corp. And I think, I'm not quite sure, you know, what it's used in, but I know it formed the basis of a couple of products that later came out, but they didn't look like this original concept. So when I came off maternity leave, I joined Amazon in the UK, who were looking to launch Kindle. So I was part of the Kindle launch team, working with publishers across the UK, and working with colleagues at Amazon who, you know, were looking at how we were going to launch the device, how we were going to encourage people to move from paper-based reading to electronic reading. So very entrepreneurial, albeit within the umbrella of a large corporate. And so, you know, that was a very successful launch, went very well. And then I also supported the launch teams for a number of the launches across Europe, so France, Spain, and Germany. So loved that experience. I then had my second child, moved back to Suffolk, which is where I'm from originally. And I joined a startup again, which was called Optalysis, which is it's a technology startup focused on building very fast processing artificial intelligence chips that go into, can go into various devices. So I was with Optalysis for 6 years. I came in as the second person and wore all sorts of different hats in that role, from fundraising. We raised several millions of pounds, through angel investments, through grant funded. So Innovate UK, for example, DARPA, Horizon 2020, all of that was funded to build this technology, and there were lots of partnerships as well with potential end customers. So a really interesting journey. It was a roller coaster journey, but super exciting, really highly innovative technology, and an amazing sort of experience to build the company to. It was to about 20 people. And then in 2020, I left Optalysis, still a shareholder of the company, but left there to really wanted to get back into the consulting role and working with a number of companies and sort of using the experience that I'd gained to think about how businesses can build that kind of solid foundation for growth as they go from startup through to scale up. And that's where I am now. So I work for Rocker, which is a consulting company based in Suffolk, and we work with all sorts of industries, but especially we work quite heavily with technology companies. So that's an overview of my journey. I think what I thought may be useful for this group was kind of some of my key learnings and takeaways that I got from that startup experiences at the e-reading company and also Optalysis. Just sort of share that really. So the first one, I think this, people will recognize this, but it was so important for us was to build the company around a team of great people. So that's people that are skilled in their area, but also people that you work well with and you feel, really complement your skill set, but also bring something, additional to the company. One of the things we specifically looked at Amazon, and I've taken this into the startups that I've worked in, and I think is really important actually, is as you grow and recruit, to constantly think about how you're raising the bar of the level of people that you have within your company. So for example, we would say, as you're bringing someone in, is that person, what is that person bringing to the table? Are they going to basically improve the level of skill set within this company, or are we just adding to but staying the same? Or we constantly want to be improving the quality of what we can offer. I think particularly with technology businesses, but also you're seeing this in all sorts of fields now, is this idea of agile ways of working. So number 2 is very much around that, moving quickly, engaging early with customers. So with Optalysis, that technology is still in development. It's not in the market yet, but we had projects going with potential customers, with prototypes, developing it, getting feedback, understanding kind of the use cases for something that's highly innovative. And that was really important for us. Number 3, product market fit. I think, again, this was really key in the last startup I was working at, because we had this highly innovative technology, and it's not something that's being used in the marketplace today. So it was understanding, what are those use cases? What pain points are we solving that this technology, helps? And maybe they're not using technology to do that at the moment. Maybe they're using a workaround or just not doing that. But what opportunities does this enable? And thinking about it very much from a customer standpoint and the benefits and value that will bring, rather than just building cool technology for cool technology's sake. I think 4 again particularly resonated with the last startup. But don't just assume that you build this great technology that people will come. You have to be engaging with potential customers, raising awareness with your network in terms of what you're doing, and getting that message out there. It's a busy marketplace, so really sort of advertising what you're doing is key. I think empowering and motivating your staff, really important, particularly in a startup, making sure everyone is all aligned to the mission, but are empowered to make decisions and drive the company forward. Thinking creatively about funding sources, and I think this ties in, very much actually to Lorraine's talk. We went down the traditional route at Optalysis of angel funding, and absolutely there was a really important part to our funding and our journey, but we also did a number of grant funded projects, and I would really be an advocate for that. And it helped us on our journey develop our technology, but it also focused us around specific use cases and commercial opportunities through that process. And also, just picking up on what Lorraine was saying there about the sort of grant application process, and absolutely recommend getting some help with that. You can have a great idea, but it's not an easy there's a lot of things to think about, and thinking through how is your message coming across clearly in terms of what you're trying to do and the benefits it could bring. Really helpful. So we looked at all sorts of areas as to how we could bring funding into the business, because we were pre-revenue for a number of years, and the company's still pre-revenue. Always keep an eye on the cash. I think that kind of goes without saying, but it's an easy thing not to look at. As a startup, obviously you've got to be thinking about what resources have you got, and making sure that that money's coming in from whether that's funding or revenue, and is there to cover your costs. Number 8 is very much around, and I love this about the roles that I've done with the startup companies, and also in the entrepreneurial environments that I was in the large corporates. But be prepared to get stuck in. You're going to learn all sorts of new things in various roles, because you're not going to have experts in each one of those areas, which is different to how it might feel in a large corporate. So get ready to get stuck in, wear multiple hats. Be open to and learn from criticism. Again, I think that's really important too. It's hard when you take a product that you've been working on for a long time to a potential customer, and you get criticism, but it's actually so useful, almost more useful in some cases, to learn what don't they like about it, how can we change that, what could we do better. And so, absolutely be open to listening to that. And my last point is, be ready for a roller coaster ride. There's lots of things you're not going to be able to predict. There's lots of things I couldn't predict that came up. We pivoted in terms of where we were focusing. There's times where we all know this recently with COVID, that took us all by surprise, and the impact that had on our businesses. So it's not going to be smooth sailing, and it's not going to be you're not going to know everything that's going to come up, but it's a lot of fun too. Lastly, I was just going to end up with a little bit about Rocker, where I work. So I work for Rocker, which, as Magda mentioned, is a strategic business and management consultancy, and we specialise in particular in business growth, concept validation, sort of new markets, so market research. And also we focus on the people side as well. So, and challenges as you're growing your business around how you can ensure that you've got high performing teams that are all aligned around a vision, and thinking through that and the culture of your company as you grow and scale. And also non-financial corporate advisory services. So we work with companies looking for investment. But there are other companies in the network too. So we have Random Colour Animal, which is a branding agency. We have Skull Mountain that focuses on product management and delivery. And we have Pretty Technical, which is a software development business technology provider, particularly for the gaming and financial industries. And I've put my LinkedIn and my email below. Very happy if anyone wants to talk further. My details are here, and I'd love to chat. So thank you very much for your time.
That was really nice to hear all your amazing journey. I mean, that's just an incredible journey, and all the experience that you got along the way. And then also your tips for startups. I think that was really great takeaways. A lot of good juicy bits in that as well.
Emma, you mentioned at the end, you said you're looking at companies that are looking for investments. Is that right?
So we do support companies that are looking for investment. Yeah. So we've got, but from a non-financial perspective. So what I mean by that is it's typically introductions. So we have, a lot of contacts in the technology and in the gaming space. So particularly where companies are looking for investment there, and we can help through introductions or just as a sort of a sounding board for the approach for investment. That's what we can help with. What we don't do is the financial side, which is, how you might structure a deal or what your valuation is, for example, or things like that.
Right. So you're not actually an investor. You're more putting companies in contact with.
Yeah, exactly.
But also obviously helping to get them, I guess, investment ready, apart from the deal side on the financial side, but concept and research and all these different things to help them to get to that point.
Absolutely. Thinking about the strategy, thinking about how they're going to grow, and that story, formulating that story that you would tell to investors. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've got a question. Yeah, thank you for that. That was brilliant. I'm quite impressed with your story as well, Emma.
Thank you.
It seems you've got a lot of real experience. So my question, I suppose, is Rocker, do you have to get, so is your payment upfront, and how much is it paid?
Yeah, so it's not always upfront. It depends on the project, and so it would be a discussion to kind of talk about what do you need, what help are you looking for, and to see whether we feel that we've got the right expertise to provide real value to you, and then it would be a discussion then around fees and things for that. But yeah, that's how it works.
Hello, how's everyone doing? So my question is based around consumer tech. So I'm an Essex alumni, and I pretty much started a tech startup straight after, which was in the consumer social space. And I was just wondering if you've got any insights when it comes to investments in Europe, to be specific, or the UK actually. Is it worth, looking for European investors when I'm in a consumer tech? Because they seem to be a lot more risk off. Like the investment appetite for, let's say, social media companies is very marginal from my experience so far. So let me just ask if you have any take in regards to what is our current thesis, or any advice in regards to getting funding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been more on the B2B side, so I don't have as much experience on the B2C and in your space. In terms of sort of the funding discussions and things like that, I think I can talk more generally about we've been having these funding discussions. There's definitely been appetite in the market in the UK, Europe, for the types of companies that we're looking at. It's really about having that really key, clear story about what you're trying to do, how you're different. So what are you specifically bringing to the table? What's your right to win in this space? And what that investment is going to be used for. So I think those are kind of the key things that need to be really clear in the discussion that you're having with them. But yeah, so that's kind of from a general perspective. But yeah, we haven't, we're still seeing several investors, we've got that appetite for investment and, looking for opportunities from the space that we're in.
All right, and I have one follow-up question, sorry. Angel investors, have you got any advice on like how to effectively, get angel investors on board?
So the way we did that at Optelysis, it was through two things really. So one was, personal networks of the people that were involved in the business. So the execs, but also the board of directors. And then two, we did work with a few different angel network groups as well. So Anglia Capital, for example. Those kind of groups to reach new angel investors too, and that worked well for us.
I just wanted to add a little bit to that, to Tinashe's question. I think it would be definitely worth getting in touch with us at Angels at Essex if you're thinking about investment. And this goes for everyone here today as well. So Angels at Essex is an equity investment platform where we've got a suite of investors essentially, and if what you're working on suits our investors, it's innovative, and we may be able to look at putting you on that platform. Another thing is the Space to Grow Investment Readiness Program. So there's a series of investment readiness sessions that we run on pretty much a weekly basis, covering all different topics, which will help you prepare for investment as well. So I'll share all the details in the chat for both of those so everyone has access to them, but definitely a good place to start as well in terms of starting that investment journey if that's something you're interested in.
Sounds great. All right, thank you very much, Josh. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Brilliant.
Thank you for the wonderful webinar, first of all, and I thank you each and every one of you. My question is to Ima, probably because of the technological sector. We have an edtech company here in India. And we have an ERP solution wherein we manage all academic admin activities through this software solution, which is web-based, cloud-based, and it is being used in the Indian higher education institutes for the past many years. So in the process of expansion, we have opened a company in the UK and we wish to implement this ERP solution in the UK higher education institutes.
Okay.
Now my concern or I'm not able to understand, we are looking for investment as well, whether we should localize the product first, then think of the investment, or it has to be parallel. How should I go about it? Can you give me some suggestion on this?
Yeah, interesting. I think, so for the UK investors, at least in the conversations I've been having, the ones I've talked to have been taking that kind of global perspective. So they've been interested in terms of, the impact and the opportunity within the UK, but actually they're more interested in where that technology can go globally. At least from my experience, that's what it's been. So from that perspective, I don't know that you would need to, it's really going to depend, isn't it, on the investors and what their key interests are. But I would say that, from that perspective, you wouldn't necessarily need to have tailored it first to the UK market before you can have those conversations. The fact you've got a UK company here will be helpful. But I don't know, actually, Josh and John, whether you've got any other perspective on that.
Yes, thank you, Emma. Yes, Sangeeta, we've got some very good relationships with Indian investors who are keen to do global expansion. They see the UK market as a great area to grow into, and they have been funding Indian-based businesses to actually come to the UK. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, the email address is uez@essex.ac.uk. We could possibly do some referrals for you to get you the right kind of advice, because these people are very good at what they do. It's the largest private equity investment company in India, and they cover the whole of India. But we've got lots of other connections as well. So yeah, I'm sure that the only reason that most businesses want to set up in the UK is to attract UK investors using the tax advantages in the UK. So you'd have to have a UK registered company to be able to get to the enterprise investment scheme or something like that. But of course, that's not absolutely necessary. There are other ways of raising funding that you don't need EIS. So yeah, certainly worth the conversation.
Okay, thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Emma, for this wonderful talk, first of all, and also Lorraine. It was absolutely insightful, and I think hopefully everybody got a lot from it. If you have any further questions, you can always contact us or UEZ at essex.ac.uk, and they can also share any kind of further information and contact details of Lorraine and Emma directly.
Just really quickly, before I know everybody wants to get going, this is an event to celebrate International Women's Day, which is coming up on the 8th of March. And this is run at the University of Essex by the Essex Startups team. So it's usually primarily for Essex students and graduates. But we will open this to any of you guys that are interested to come along to the event. It isn't bookable via Eventbrite or anything like that, because it is usually just for students. But if you would like to come along, what I'll do is I'll just quickly pop my email address into the chat, and you can email me directly to book a place. It's sort of a very similar concept to today. We do have 3 guest speakers. Some of you will remember Gina Gardner from a session that we had before. We've also got Kim Moore. I don't know if anybody knows Kim Moore, who's a marketing specialist. And then we have another lady coming along called Emma Swan, who is, she deals with sort of workshops and well-being, resilience and mental health within the workplace. So we've got some really great speakers coming along to that event, as well as sort of a bit of a discussion roundtable that will go on as well. So that's the 8th of March, 1 till 3. It's actually on the Colchester campus, if anybody knows that, or if you're local, it's in the Innovation Centre. Obviously, any more details, please just email me, and there's my email address for everybody if you'd like to get in touch.
It's a Tuesday, I believe. So
yes, it is. Yeah.
So not next week, in 2 weeks. Other than that, we have the UEZ has the Innovation Model Canvas workshop, again with Innovate UK coming up, Innovate UK Edge, sorry, with Simon Attack. And then there is another workshop on this 22nd of March, which is Backing Essex Business Getting Investment Ready. And obviously our next FE, which is on the 25th. So we will put the Eventbrite, the link, I'm assuming, into the Slack channel. So anybody who's not on Slack yet, I think there will be an email sent out after this again with the link to the Slack. So please come and join us. We're just getting enough momentum there to have some discussions going on, and just in general, it's a nice little community of its own. So we'd love to have you. And this was such a great session. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Lorraine, for such wonderful talks. Thanks for everyone participating. We will try to do the breakout session next time again, just a little bit shorter maybe, so we have some feedback, more time to do some feedback round afterwards. But thank you everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks very much, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.